बीजापूरगदेक्षुकर्मुकुरजाब्चक्राब्जपाशोत्पल व्रीयग्रस्वपिशानरत्नकलशैः प्रोद्यत्करां भूर्वः ध्येयो वल्लभया सपद्मकरया आश्लिष्टोज्ज्वलद्भूषया विश्वोत्पत्तिविपत्तिसंसृतिकरो विघ्नेश इष्टर्दद श्रीनाथादिगुरुत्रयं गणपतिं पीठत्रयं भैरवं सिद्धौघं वटुकत्रयं पदयुगं धूतीक्रमं मण्डलं वीरान्ध्यष्टचतुष्कषष्टिनवकं वीरावळी पञ्चकं श्रीमन्मालिनीमन्त्रराजसहितं वन्दे गुरोर्मण्डलम् माधर्मे मधुकैटभग्निमहिषः प्राणापहारोद्यमे हेला निर्मितधूम्रलोचनवदे हे चण्डमुण्डर्दिनी निःशेषीकृतरक्तबीजदनुजे नित्ये निशुम्भापहे शुम्भध्वंसनी संहरा सुदुरितन् दुर्गे नमस्तेऽम्बिके सर्वं श्रीचण्डी महालक्ष्मी श्रीपादुकां पूजयामि तर्पयामि नमः सद्गुरुं श्रीपादुकां पूजयामि तर्पयामि नमः Namaskaram all of you. Welcome for this another session. We are parallelly starting with the Sri Vidya theories. This month onwards, we will be exclusively learning and listening a lot of important content about Devi Mahatmyam, because we are upcoming with the Mahachandi Homam. And why are we performing Chandi Homam? What is the significance of Chandi Homam? What are the benefits of Chandi Homam as it is given in texts like Durga Kalpadrumam, and various scholars, they have spoken in various contexts. We will be looking into the details in the entire month of March. So today, I'm going to give you a overall introduction about Sri Durga Saptashati, which is also called as Devi Mahatmyam, in the broader themes of the text, the theology, and the allegory that is connected with the living tradition of this entire, gigantic work that is very central to the Shakta traditions. The Devi Mahatmyam, as I mentioned, it's popularly known as the Durga Saptashati, is a composition of 700 verses, actually. 700 verses. Scholar Devdutt Kali, through his research, explains that almost it's been 15 centuries ago. 15 centuries, just imagine, 15 centuries ago, specifically in the northwest of India, a unknown author or a group of authors, they came together to to bring in a kind of a composition of this ancient text, which was embedded into the memory of, at that point of time, with all the living entities, it seems. It was considered to be Vedic metaphysics, and it also had ritual theology into a single luminous composition. That composition became, as I mentioned, as a central text to understand this entire goddess all about, and how goddesses can become very powerful. Because this is something very important for us, because predominantly we are a patriarchal society, actually. Men, even masculine gods or gods who are, of the other gender, the masculine gender, were given preeminence, actually. Even from the Vedic times, we see Indra, Varuna, Agni, they were all being Vedic gods, were also men. So how during, with such an understanding with the patriarchal society, how can the Shakta tradition introduce this particular concept of women being the center of a tradition, and it is still continuing, actually? Just imagine, like, all of you who are here in our Mahavidyalaya who is very aspiring to learn this Devi Mahatmyam and wanted to understand further, like that, there are many, many seekers are there around the world actually. And let me tell you, this is not going to stop with you and me. There'll be further teachers will come, further students will learn. It is going to continue actually. So how this has become a very powerful tradition is something we have to understand actually. The moment we are going to understand this, then the glories of Devi Mahatmyam is going to be automatically revealed to us with that embedded knowledge that is going to come out of us, because the very text very clearly says that it was a living tradition that was there deep within the human sensibility or the human psyche in itself actually. So therefore what we learn as Durga Saptashati is not a mere poetry, it is not mythology, or it is not merely theology. It was a way, if we have to say, it is a verbal tapestry, a combination of religion, philosophy, narrative, cosmology, and even psychology integrated into one seamless spiritual vision, actually. Even today, these 700 verses are recited in various parts of the world, in temples, in homes, in mathas, in Shakta temples, in not just in India, but even abroad. They exist not just in Sanskrit, let me tell you, students, they exist in various vernacular translations, actually. There is something called as Durga Chalisa, actually, in Hindi, a very celebrated one, actually. What is Durga Chalisa? It's a sum totality of the Durga Saptashati given in Hindi, actually. Like that, we have a lot of this, what is called as a summarization of Durga Saptashati in the Bengali traditions, in the Oriya traditions, in the Malayalam tradition. Even we have in the Tamil traditions. For example, all those Tamil students, if you know, we have something called as Mangalarupini Madiyana Shulini Manmadapaniyare. You would have heard this. This is what? This is nothing but, no, nowadays Instagram is also helping, though we don't know, but you'd have heard this tune somewhere, actually, I'm pretty sure. So this is again a sum totality of the summary of this Devi Mahatmyam given in a very different dimension, actually. That's the reason we say the entire Devi Mahatmyam is a part of the living tradition. So these aspects of these 700 verses, what is the truth about it? So what is Devi Mahatmyam? Let us first try to understand this in the most fundamental sense. The Devi Mahatmyam originally appears in what is called as the Markandeya Purana. It is appearing in the Markandeya Purana. Markandeya Purana is embedded in the narrative of the 8th Manvantara, which is the time of the Savarni Manu. Savarni Surya Tanayo Yo Manu Katyateshtamaha. Correct? It starts like that. Yes or no? How many of you remember? Those who are learning Devi Mahatmyam. Correct? So there are different Manus are there actually. We have to get into that later. What is Manu system and how they are ruling and everything. So now, as of now, the understanding is 8 Manvantara, and who was the Manu at that point in time? Savarni was the Manu. Yet, although this is housed within the Puranic tradition, it carries a stature that is comparable to any highly revered Vedic text, actually. The Devi Mahatmyam, actually. How, like, it begins with a very powerful sentence, Om Namas Chandikayai. Just as Rudram begins, Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Yes, correct? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The Vishnu Sahasranama. So, just as the Rudram begins with the salutation of the Rudra's fierce form, the Saptashati begins with the surrender to the fierce form of goddess Chandika. This opening signals something very profound, students, because this is not merely storytelling. This is an invocation. And when it is invocation, it becomes what is called as mantra shastra. The moment there is invocation is there, it becomes mantra shastra. Traditionally, the Shakta Acharyas insist that all the 700 verses are mantras. They are not just shlokas, because there is a difference between what is called as a shloka versus a mantra, actually. The sadhaka who learns it systematically from a teacher and gets initiated with what is called as a Navarna mantra. We will look into the details of what is Navarna mantra as the classes are going to progress in this month of March. This Navarna mantra is nothing but the Navakshari Mahamantra. And this Navakshari Mahamantra, if I have to just give an introduction to you, it's a 9-syllable mantra. And if you break down that 9 syllable through its bijas, it converts into 24 letters actually. And those 24 letters are equivalent to the Gayatri mantra, because the Gayatri mantra also contains 24 letters. And interestingly, within the Shakta tradition, in our Sri Vidya, even the Panchadashi, when we break down, it contains 24 letters. So the Navakshari or the Navavarna mantra is as equivalent to the Brahma Satyam or the Brahma Satyam revealed as the mantra Bijaksharas. So therefore, the one who gets initiated into the Navarna mantra and performs the mantra japam, and he or she, when they chant the Durga Saptashati, it is not merely a recitation of shlokas, but it is recitation of mantras emanated through the power of the Navarna mantra japam. Okay? So therefore, each of the syllable will bring out what is called as the Bija Shakti. The Bija Shakti. Every syllable will vibrate within the cosmic matrix of what is called as the Shabda Prapancham. The Prapancha is consisting of the subtle vibrations of the Shabdam, and that Shabdam we have been authorized with what is called as the Mantra Shakti, and that mantra shakti will emanate, will intermingle with the cosmic vibrations, and it produces, a new dimension, a third dimension, which is, connecting you with the divine through the medium of mantra. And how this is happening, as I've already discussed with you, the Sanskrit alphabet is traditionally 51 letters representing the vibratory blueprint of the creation, the Matrika Aksharas. Yes, we have discussed about the Matrika Aksharas. And this universe is not merely a matter, it is an articulated sound, actually. Thus, the 700 verses are a permutation and combination of the split up, an intelligent split up of these 51 Matruka Aksharas, actually. Each verse, each word in itself is a mantra Shakti. It is not a mere text or a mere poetic recitation, but they are powerful, powerful mantras, actually. And the power gets exhibited with the sadhaka's involvement into the upasana or in the text. Actually, the more there is involvement, the more there is commitment, the more the emanation is there, actually. Let me take you a little bit into the historical and the literary understanding that comes with the Durga Saptashati. From a very scholarly perspective, the Devi Mahatmyam is a remarkable synthesis, I would say, because the authors have inherited the Vedic hymns to what is called as understanding the cosmic feminine power, actually. Like Aditi, Saraswati, Usha, they all have a certain attributes of powers, and they are was described as a tribal goddesses tradition, regional mother cults, and pan-Indian mythic motifs all around. They inherited what is called as the Puranic cosmology and the Upanishadic metaphysics, actually. They wove these two threads into coherent theology, into a single supreme goddesses who was identified and recognized as Mahadevi. And this Mahadevi was considered to be Parashakti, Para iti Shakti, the ultimate power, who is simultaneously one and many. And students, in the world of religious history, this is actually a revolution. Because for the first time, it is fully developed as a literary form based on a goddess's tradition, actually. The divine feminine was declared to be supreme, actually, not subordinate to any male deity, actually. Not subordinate to any male deity. And does not have to be a consort for a male deity. You understand? She is considered to be supreme superpower, the Mahadevi, as it is described. And not, as I mentioned, not the aspect alone, but she was seen or considered to be the ultimate reality itself. We started off late teaching Sri Vidya theories the last 3-4 months, and my students who are into core Shakta traditions and Chandi Upasana, they were a little upset with me, that I'm not focusing on Chandi, I'm not teaching the core Chandi ideas. I think this is satisfying them, actually. Welcome to Chandi Tantra Mahavidyalaya. Of course, we have to talk about Chandi here because it is a Chandika Vidyalaya, basically. So, the Devi is proclaimed as the Brahmaswarupini, Narayani. Narayani. Narayan was considered to be the Paramatman here. Correct? Narayan was considered to be Paramatman. So who is that Paramatman of that Narayana himself? Narayani is the Paramatman of that Narayana himself. That's the way it was declared. So, Aham Rudrebhir Vasubhischaram Yaha Adityai Ruda Vishwadevaihi. You will be learning Devi Atharvasirusha Upanishad very shortly. It is coming up in this month. So, I alone exist in the beginning of creation. Devi is declaring it, actually. I alone existed. Nobody was there. And I am the source of everybody and everything that can be conceptualized. Thus, the Devi Mahatmyam systematizes this theology, this strong philosophical foundation. So let me take you to the next phase of what I wanted to explain to you, the structure of the text, a kind of a trilogy of myths, actually. The text, Devi Mahatmyam, unfolds a framed narrative, actually. A king, somebody who he dispossessed his kingdom, a merchant betrayed by his own family, both wandering in sorrow. They approach a sage. This is not an incidental storytelling, but the king actually representing the loss of power. The merchant represents loss of attachment. Both represent what? Existential suffering, which you and me actually undergo in a practical world, actually. Yes? Yes or no? Attachment, power. This is what we all wanted, right? Actually, we are exerting power in everything. And with that power, we want to exert what is called as attachment, actually. Their suffering is not merely political and economic. It is deeply psychological and metaphysical in nature. The sage narrates 3 myths which is very central to the text. The slaying of Madhu and Kaitaba, the slaying of Mahishasura, and the slaying of Shumba and Nishumba, actually. Though Devi has done various vadhas, but the three primary understanding which we need as students are Madhu and Kaitaba, Mahishasura, and Shumba and Nishumba, actually. Why? We are going to look into it. Because these three are not random demon stories. They represent the evolution of consciousness. They represent the evolution of consciousness. Madhu and Kaitaba represent the primal tamo guna, which is nothing but the fundamental arrogance which is being carried. Fundamentally, the arrogance that is carried. And Mahishasura, the ever shape shifting ego that we carry in various phases of life. And Shumba and Nishumba, self-conceit and self-doubt that we carry with ourselves. So therefore, the text very clearly explains that the battlefield was not outside for Devi, but it is the very own consciousness which is present within us, actually. Like the battlefield in Bhagavad Gita, for example, the killing ground of Devi Mahatmyam is the field of human awareness, where joy, freedom, sorrow, wisdom, everything should be unfolded. And how it is unfolded? Because we are bounded by something fundamental, which is called as delusion. Delusion. Now, the philosophical vision, like, who is this Devi actually? Who is this Devi? One answer you will all give is, she's Amma, correct? She's goddess, correct. Now, let us understand what the text is saying. Who is this Devi? The Devi Mahatmyam answer this perennial question which we keep asking since time immemorial. Who is this Devi? When we ask this question, immediately the Devi Mahatmyam is putting in return certain other questions to us. You are asking, who is this Devi? But do you know what are these following questions it is asking? What is this universe? Do you know the answer? What is divinity? Do you know the answer? Who are these human beings? Do you know the answer? Yappa, idukku answer theriyala. No, we don't even know the answer for that. The Devi Mahatmyam is asking, do you know how these three are correlated? No, we have to keep thinking like this. Correct, na? So instead of going on thinking like this, you have to do two things. Read, do the japam of Devi Mahatmyam. I'm saying literally japam, not reading or chanting. It's japam basically. Then the answer will come out, it seems. What is the answer we are going to get? That also Devi Mahatmyam itself is saying actually. It's like a theorem getting derived. You understand? The theorem answer is already there. You have to just derive it to show that I have achieved the answer actually. Correct? So what it is, the Devi is the power behind all the three aspects which we just asked. This universe, the human beings, and the divinity in itself actually. She is the Shakti which is beyond all these three dimensions. And when she is the Shakti, therefore she is the creation, she is the preservation, and she is ultimately the dissolution. Therefore, since she is the creation, she is the preservation, and she is the dissolution, She's also the she's also the delusion, and she is also the awakening. Correct? Got it? What I'm trying to say? She is the delusion, but she is also awakening. Paradoxically, the Devi Mahatmyam declares that she is the one who is the misunderstanding of who we are. Since she is the one who has developed that misunderstanding of who we are as Mahamaya, therefore, she is the one who will remove it to us as Yogamaya. So it is, the text is very clearly asking us, do you want to remain in Mahamaya or you want to attain the Yogamaya? Got it? అర్థ ఎలా అర్థమవుతుందా మనసులాయో पुरियरदा समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं ये मुझे इतना ही लैंग्वेज आता है यार so therefore what happens students for a Shakta sadhaka that this ego which has constantly made us to believe or working us you know as an independent entity who wants to constantly enjoy the world will redirect this entire force of what we are towards that moment of consciousness. Actually, we are not killing the ego completely, we are not completely killing the independent force that we have, but what is happening for a Shakta sadhaka, it is redirected into the consciousness actually. And thus what happens, the liberation is not just an escape from creation, it is recognizing it, being within it actually. We are, that's the reason we keep saying what? We don't want to run away from what we are doing actually. We want to remain where we are to realize ourselves actually. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? So therefore, here comes the Vedantic and the Tantric integration actually. The Vedanta speaks about Brahman, the pure consciousness, and Tantra speaks about the Shakti, the dynamic power. The Devi Mahatmyam integrates these two concepts together. If you, in South India, we had a great sage, Mahatma, known with the name Appaya Dikshitar. Appaya Dikshitar explains that the eternal singular consciousness appears as the doer and deed due to the Maya. But this division is only apparent in nature. Like how, for example, like a musician and music, like fire and heat. The Devi is both Brahman and Shakti. Therefore, in the Shakta theology, Mahakali is therefore the time and dissolution. Mahalakshmi is sustenance and abundance, and Mahasaraswati is knowledge and articulation. These are not separate goddesses per se, but they are the qualitative expression of that one single consciousness. So, therefore, what happens, even in this modern traditions, including all the practitioners within any of the dimensions of the East or the Western scholarship or any of the traditional practices, they emphasize the universal allegory of this text. What the demon represents, what is called as the addiction to the power, actually. The addiction to the power. An attachment to possession, craving for pleasure, illusion of self importance. The Devi battling is a symbolization of the confrontation with these tendencies, basically. And the slaying of the demons is not violence per se, it's an ego transformation. And therefore, the king and the merchant do not receive back merely kingdoms and wealth. They receive what is called as Jnanam, Atma Vidya. And thus, the Devi Mahatmyam is ultimately about existential suffering and its transcendence. The existential suffering and its transcendence. Our ancestors have experienced the nature of both the awe and the terror. That is, the same power that nourishes crops also unleashes storms that we know. The same earth that sustains life also swallows it, basically. They did not divide these experiences into good and evil, basically. They saw both as a manifestation of the great mother herself. Thus, the Devi Mahatmyam is not a talking about some kind of optimism. It does not deny suffering, it integrates both the concepts together. The goddess is both terrifying and tender in nature, and mature spirituality must embrace both the ideas together. Hmm? The, the Devi Mahatmyam is not confined to philosophy, though the philosophy is the foundation for the understanding, but that is just a foundation to build further understanding. It is ritually a very alive tradition. And ritually means what? To connect with the Divine Mother. It is recited in various occasions, and and it is there are many traditional requirements, initiations, a discipline, a guru's guidance. Yet the Devi's grace is not limited to the ritual expertise alone, but it is leading to what is called as having a transformative experience. For a transformative experience. Why Devi Mahatmyam remains relevant? Because if we have to understand this in a simple sense, we live in a world that is torn between good and evil. How do we face inner conflict? How do we find lasting peace? These are the primary questions we have for each other. And the Devi Mahatmyam answers by saying, by recognizing that the battlefield is within us, by surrendering our ego, by invoking the deep power of consciousness, by understanding that even illusion is a divine play, then you can win over all these battles or demons that they arrive during different aspects or different points in time. The Devi Mahatmyam is dazzling because it is a literature that flourishes with the idea of not just the myth and metaphysics, ritual and psychology, or cosmology, or compassion, or fierceness, or grace. It declares that the ultimate reality is not distant or not abstract, not genderless abstraction alone, but a living dynamic conscious power. And when we say Om Namas Chandikaye, we are actually bowing to what? The power that creates the misunderstanding, the power that actually destroys this misunderstanding, the power that sustains the existence, and the consciousness that shines as our own true self. Thus, the very invocation begins with that fear, actually. Why we need to bow down to fear? Yes or no? Why Chandi is a fierce mother? Have you ever asked this question? Why she is fearful? எதுக்கு இவ்வளோ கோவம்? इतना गुस्सा क्यों है माता को? इसके पीछे क्या कारण है? Think about it. Tomorrow I'll talk about this. Let's finish the class with Mangala. सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरि नारायणि नमोऽस्तुते जयन्ती मङ्गला काली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवा धात्री स्वाहा स्वधा नमोऽस्तुते दुर्गे स्मृता हरसि भीतिमशेषजन्तोः स्वस्तैः स्मृता मतिमतीव शुभान् ददासि धारित्र दुःख भयहारिणिका त्वदन्या सर्वोपकारकरणाय सधात्र चित्तः श्री दुर्गायै नमः सर्वं श्री चण्डी महालक्ष्मी अर्पणमस्तु तथास्तु Thank you so much. Namaskaram. See you in tomorrow's class.